We are starting in on a new play today on Shakespeare. Huzzah! We are going to start in on Sir John Oldcastle, which was likely not written by Shakespeare. It was probably written by Anthony Munday, Michael Drayton, Richard Hathaway, and Robert Wilson as a sort of collaborative thing. It was originally first published anonymously in about 1600, but then for some reason in the third folio in 1664, it was included there. And it's possible that there was some cross-contamination with Shakespeare because all four of those men were contemporary playwrights during Shakespeare's time, and some of the other plays that they wrote are also part of the Shakespearean Apocrypha. So there might be bits and pieces here and there that were Shakespearean, but this is likely not one of his. So anyway, that aside, there is a written record at some point of these four being paid for this work, which is why scholars say this was probably written by them, unless they stole it and Four Ways decided to be honorable amongst themselves about keeping the profits for selling something that somebody else wrote, because that's likely. But anyway, Sir John Oldcastle it's a history play, and he was an actual historical figure. He was a Lollard, which is sort of a proto-Protestant. So he was Protestant before Protestantism was a thing, and some people consider him to be a proto-Protestant martyr because of how he challenged the church. So you know that we're going to get elements of religious disagreements in this particular play. And today we're going to hear the prologue, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what's interesting about Sir John Oldcastle and the Shakespearean connection, but after we hear the prologue, because the prologue also tells the audience why all of this is weird. So anyway, the beginning of Sir John Oldcastle starts out with the prologue coming out and saying, "The doubtful title, gentlemen, prefixed upon the argument we have in hand, may breed suspense and wrongfully disturb the peaceful quiet of your settled thoughts. To stop which scruple, let this brief suffice. It is no pampered glutton we present, nor aged counselor to youthful sin, but one whose virtue shone above the rest, a valiant martyr and a virtuous peer, in whose true faith and loyalty expressed unto his sovereign and his country's weal. We strive to pay that tribute of our love, your favors merit. Let fair truth be graced, since forged invention former time defaced." So this prologue is interesting because there's a very strong possibility that the character of Sir John Falstaff was originally named Sir John Oldcastle in Shakespeare's plays. And this prologue is saying, you're not going to see a play about Falstaff. So it's kind of interesting and funny. Falstaff, there was a Sir John Falstaff who was also an historical figure, and he was known for being loud and gluttonous and rude and all of these sorts of things. And that's probably why Shakespeare changed the name to that from Oldcastle. But there are still remnants of the Oldcastle name in early versions of some of Shakespeare's plays, in Henry VI, Part 1 and 2, and even in The Merry Wives of Windsor. At one point, Hal refers to Falstaff as my old lad of the castle, my old lad of the castle. Oldcastle. There's a misprint in one of the early versions where instead of abbreviating the name Falstaff with Falst and then saying what lines he's going to speak, it says old and then what lines he's going to speak, but it is Falstaff who's speaking at that point. So that's like, imagine nowadays you're in a Word document and you do a search and replace. This missed one of them when it came to printing. They forgot to scratch out, don't print Oldcastle, print Falstaff here. And there's also a disclaimer at the end of Henry VI, Part 2, that clarifies that Falstaff is not the Lollard martyr, Sir John Oldcastle. So because of all of that, and it would have been political stuff that made Shakespeare change the name of Oldcastle into Falstaff for the Henry plays and Merry Wives of Windsor. But I just think that it's interesting that at the end of Henry VI, Part 2, They have to say, this isn't the Lollard martyr. And here at the beginning of the play about Sir John Oldcastle, they're saying, this isn't Falstaff, the gluttonous lout from all of those other Shakespeare plays. This is the Lollard martyr who deserves our time, our attention, our tribute, all of that sort of thing. So it's just lovely that we start out with a little bit of clarification. The prologue comes out and says, if you're expecting to see John Falstaff, that's not what this is. It's a different play. It's about this religious guy. All right, watch the show. And that's how things kick off. So on that note, if you want to explore a play about a potential religious martyr, not the gluttonous guy Falstaff, then come on back tomorrow for more. If you'd rather hear more about Falstaff, go back to the playlists about all of the Henry plays and you can learn more about him there. So anyway, come on back tomorrow for more Sir John Oldcastle, not Falstaff. I'll see you then. Mwah.